The episode that I want to talk about today is Prometheus. And so evil Hera has bound Prometheus, and as Prometheus is bound on the top of this mountain, all the gifts that he brought humans are all going to disappear, and badness will happen. The reason why I'm talking about this episode is because it is a crossover. It is the first time that the characters from Hercules came over to Xena. I told you that I watched the show in high school, and okay, I was 14. I was not master of my judgment in the way that I am today. I really liked this episode. It warmed my little 14-year-old shipper heart in ways you don't even know, in ways that don't make sense when you watch the episode today. I'm so sorry, but it's amazing. I taped this one off of TV, and I watched it a lot. And I watched it yesterday, and it was terrible. So let's talk about it. So the plot. Now that we're back to the plot. We are back to the plot. We're back to the plot. They realize through the powers of cunning and really terrible acting that Prometheus must surely be bound. And so Xena, who knows from a friend that she has to go to this one specific oracle if Prometheus ever gets bound, because obviously this is exactly the sort of thing that would come up in casual conversation. So Xena goes to the oracle, and she has to, like, pass this stupid test with, like, this giant chompy head. It was stupid. That had no bearing on anything, because as soon as she passed it, the oracle was like, ha ha ha, that test meant nothing, and Xena's all pissed, and the oracle's like, whatever, I'll tell you what you need to know now. So they find out they have to get the sword of Hephaestus, and the sword of Hephaestus will be able to break the bonds of Prometheus. And so Xena gets the sword. Eventually, it's all very King Arthur, and she pulls it from a sword stone. She pulls it from a stone. And along the way is one of these terrible comic bits. Some of the show's comedy works so well because it's ridiculous, and some of it is so ridiculous you're just like, please, can we not? This is one of those scenes where she leaves Gabrielle, because Gabrielle doesn't ever get to do anything. She leaves her at this, it's supposed to be like the ancient Greece equivalent of a roadside tourist a roadside tourist trap, whatever. Tourist trap shack, yeah. And, oh, it's a tent. It is a tent, not a shack. So she's waiting in the tent, and this dude comes in, and she strikes up a conversation, because that's what you do when you're a sidekick. All you can do is talk. I don't even know how she finds out that he's friends with Hercules, because it's Aeolus, and she doesn't know this, and starts trying to talk to him about being friends with Hercules. Isn't it hard for you to just stand around while Hercules does all these fabulous things, and he's all like, haha, stand around. I don't stand around, I'm right there fighting with him, and it's ridiculous. In the middle of this, like, friendly chat, Xena comes in, and it's like, ooh, awkward between all of them, except for Gabrielle, who's like, eh? And Aeolus finds out that they have the sword, and so he runs and tells Hercules, and eventually, like, they fight a bit. It is kind of hilarious, because Hercules and Xena are fighting and fighting and fighting, and Aeolus is kind of joining in because there's some other people they're fighting too. Gabrielle is literally standing in the corner with the pitchfork, and they have these reaction shots of Gabrielle where she's holding the pitchfork and she's kind of like, yeah! And then they forget about Gabrielle for a few minutes, and then they show her again, like, ah! But she's not actually fighting anyone. She's standing in the corner with a pitchfork trying to, like, show you how cut off from the action Gabrielle is. Whatever. See, as you can tell, I don't care about the plot. So anyway, they get to the mountain, and everyone's had lots of time to chat and get to be BFF. I mean, Hercules and Xena are already BFF. But so Aeolus and Gabrielle, as sidekicks, get to bond. And it turns out, oh no, Aeolus was, like, stabbed in the fight. And so he is going to die very quickly from not a very important wound because of the whole, the gifts of Prometheus have been taken away. So what you end up having is the inevitable, where Gabrielle and Aeolus are stuck, waiting, while Hercules and Xena go and, like, are fighting over who's gonna get to be the one to strike the blow that will free Prometheus, because of course there's the curse of the one who has Hephaestus' sword, in that anyone who uses a sword to strike a blow will be burned to ash. So anyway, Hercules and Xena both want to be the ones to sacrifice themselves. Oh, no, the world needs you! No, the world needs you more! Oh, no, it's ridiculous. This fight, because because we're on Xena, involves soldiers of Hera who hatch from giant eggs and fight Xena and Hercules. And as Xena almost gets to Prometheus, she is snatched up into the air by some giant dragon thing. His graspy feet are holding onto her shoulders, and she's all like being flown around the mountains, and oh no, and she eventually uses her little whip thing. I don't even know how she does this actually, but she winds up like on his back instead of his graspy feet. Meanwhile, Gabrielle and Aeolus are like, you know, bonding as Aeolus dies, like you do. And in a very ridiculous moment that warmed my 14-year-old heart, Gabrielle starts telling the delirious Aeolus the story from Plato's Symposium. Back in the day, whenever everyone, you know it from Hedwig, how everyone had 4 legs and 2 heads, and then the gods split us apart into people with 2 legs and 1 head. And our souls were also halved, and so we spent our entire life like searching for the other half of our soul. That's love. So she starts telling this to Aeolus, and I'm sitting there thinking about this now. I mean, I'm trying to give this some sort of a better meaning, because I'm like, is she saying that Aeolus can die happy because he's found the other half of his soul in Hercules, and we're all happy? And then I realized, no, it means what my 14-year-old heart thought it meant. She is trying to tell Aeolus that on the basis of one afternoon's conversation, they, as sidekicks, are each other's other half of the soul. Yeah. He faints, thank God, that we cut back to Xena and Hercules fighting the dragon. And through like ridiculous television chicanery, Xena drops the sword from like a bazillion miles up in the sky, and Hercules grabs a convenient boulder, and the sword like rebounds off the boulder and strikes the chains of Prometheus, and nobody has to die, and Prometheus gets free. So happy day, and Aeolus comes back to life. Happy day. So then we get to the denouement, and first we have Gabrielle and Aeolus, and Gabrielle is all like, so, you know, when we were talking, do you remember me telling you a story in the caves? And Aeolus is like, no, I don't remember that at all. I was pretty far gone. And Gabrielle's like, oh, that's nice. It was good to meet you. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Hercules has this really terrible line early on where they're bonding. And in this terribly clunky line of dialogue, you know, I told you that one time that you should go see this specific oracle if just on the off chance that Prometheus is ever bound again, and I knew I could trust you. Except that, like, the whole point of this episode has been whoever goes to the oracle will get the sword, will free Prometheus, and will die, which is obviously how you say I love you in ancient Greece. So then everyone says goodbye, and Gabrielle and Xena go off one way, Xena on her horse, Gabrielle walking alongside, as Hercules and Aeolus stand off on the hillside and watch them go. And in the most incredibly schmaltzy way, we have a close-up of Aeolus saying, Hercules, do you think that it's possible that someone can share part of your soul? And then we do a close-up on Gabrielle as she walks away. And then we shift to Hercules' face. And Hercules, gazing longingly at Xena, says, yes, I know we can. So my 14-year-old self at this point is probably, like, with my notebook, writing little hearts, Aeolus and Gabrielle forever. Xena loves Hercules. I don't even know. All I know is that I taped this off of TV and I watched it a lot. My current self, on the other hand, is very much like, wow, my 14-year-old self was really easily overcome by sappiness. And I think I'm right. But so, Prometheus, hilarious episode. Really not the same way I remembered. So worth it. Worth it in every way to revisit and rediscover. Prometheus, you get my thumbs up.